Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please, if you can hear me, just let me know on the chat box. If you can hear me, please let me know on the chat box. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Titilayo. Good morning, Cynthia. Good morning, Fumilayo. Good morning. So good to have you all here. Once again, welcome to the SMEDAN Entrepreneurship Program. And today our session is going to be on financial management. And of course, we already have our facilitator on ground, but as our usual routine, would have to give an extra 5 minutes so we can have other participants join in. So once it's 11:05, we are going to officially kickstart our session for today. So please and please kindly bear with us. Of course, be your brother's keeper. We want everyone to participate and also gain from what our facilitator is going to be sharing on financial management today. So please, by 11:05, we would officially kickstart our session for today. Thank you so much. But before then, while we are still waiting, you can introduce yourself using the chat box, your name, your business name, and the location you're joining us from. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today. Once again, welcome to the SMEDAN Entrepreneurship Program. And as our usual routine, we're giving an extra 5 minutes so we can have other entrepreneurs participate in today's session. So at 11:05, we would officially start our session for today. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We'll be starting in the next 1 minute. Thank you all so much for your commitment so far. Our facilitator is right here on the ground with us. So once it's 11:05, we're going to be introducing him and he will be taking us on what we have for our session today, which is on financial management. So yes, right about now, we will be starting our session for today. Once again, thank you all so much for joining us today. Again, we continue on what we have for you all today, which is on financial management. And of course, we have our facilitator on ground taking us on today's session. But before we get him to take the floor, of course, we have to give like a brief introduction so you know who is taking you on our session for today. And yes, can everyone see my screen? Please, if you can see my screen, just let me know using the chat box. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us. And today we'll be having Mr. Olasoji Odunayo join us for today's session. He will be taking us on financial management. Mr. Olasoji Odunayo is a seasoned accountant, a tax professional, and a public speaker. He's an associate member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria with a strong bias for small and medium-scale businesses, non-profit and faith-based organizations. He has specialized in helping heads of these organizations make better and more informed financing and investment decisions by helping them create structures and systems that allow for order and lasting organic growth. He is a strict proponent of order, compliance, and structure, and he has a life target of reaching and directly influencing 1 million businesses and entrepreneurs with his message of structure. Please kindly welcome our facilitator for today, Mr. Olasoji Odunayo, as he takes us on financial management. Good morning, Mr. Olasoji.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me. So good to be here also. Thank you so much for having me. And it's good to be in class. If you can hear me loud and clear, please drop a comment in the comment section. Just say, I can hear you. Say anything, just say loud and clear. Say something interesting. So we know. Thank you so much. I've seen yes, we can. Yes, I can see. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And please, can I be allowed to share so that I could share my slides? Okay, thank you so much. I'll do that in a second. Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me. Like the introduction has said, my name is Olasoji Odunayo. I am an accountant, a chartered accountant, and a tax professional. And I also, apart from that, I also run Sporos Consult. It's a accounting and bookkeeping and tax consulting company here in Lagos. And we help small businesses, medium-scale businesses make great financial decisions. And we also help to ensure that finances and taxes are in proper order. And today I'm going to be taking a session on financial management. We're going to be talking, and what I try to do every time I get to talk to business owners, especially small and medium scale businesses, is that I try to share some of my best advice every time we get to take up particularly a business that is at the beginning phases. Because one of the things I've found out is that particularly in our climate, when most of us start businesses, and that's the reality. We start business, the goal is to keep the business afloat. The goal is to run the business. The goal is to make profits. The goal is to be able to, take care of our basic needs. Most of us as entrepreneurs, we want to be able to live at least a comfortable life, drive a car, stay in a good place, send our children to school, take care of our basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter, and be fine. So most of us start our businesses at the beginning phases, and we're basically trying to attend to all of these things. All right. In the process of doing that, a lot of us miss out on some vital things that we shouldn't be paying attention to. And a lot of times, by the time we discover it, a lot of times, things are usually a bit late. And so every time we get to take up in the past few years, we've had the opportunity of working with at least over 200 businesses at different levels, of development. And a lot of times when I get to speak with business owners, I try to share some of the basic things that we pay attention to every time we take up a new business, some of the basic things that I am looking out for, some of the basic things that we start working on immediately we get to take up a new business. So I want you to consider this as a free consultancy session, to basically help you as a business owner to begin to look at the areas you should start paying attention to, the areas you should start looking at in the event that you have not been looking at them. And one of the things I try to do as much as possible is apart from telling you what to do, I try a little bit to tell you how to do it, because I'm not just here to, share information, and then we go. A lot of us attend programs, and the important thing is not necessarily how much programs we have attended, or how much, even at this program right now, I'm sure we've attended a lot of sessions where we've had to interact with a lot of facilitators with different, on different aspects of our businesses. But the important thing is, after this time, what do we do with this information? How do we act on this information and start getting results immediately on our business? So one of the things that I will try to do as I speak about some of these things is give us, a tip here and there that will help us to be able to implement these things immediately and start getting results from them. So like I said, I'm going to be sharing 5 most potent financial advice that I give to business owners and what you should do about it today. Remember, the idea is you start taking action. I'm going to be sharing some things, and I would look forward to the actions that are going to be taken by everyone that is in this class. I will look forward, and I'm looking forward to not just the actions, but your testimonies of the result you will start getting and start sharing after you start taking actions on these things. And I like starting on this note every time I get to talk about this topic. Now, we all understand, every one of us, I'm sure one of the things we probably, talked about somewhere during this program, is drawing a business plan and all that. And I believe that nobody should run into any kind of business, no matter how small it is, no matter how big it is, without entering it with a plan. All right. Now, but we all also know that for those of us that have worked with business plans before, and we will understand, that there is a whole world of difference between a business plan and the practice of business. And what I mean is this, a business plan usually, contains a lot of assumptions, all right? And we need to make those assumptions so that we can be able to be quite precise with our plan, all right? But a lot of us know, that immediately you enter into the business itself, sometimes the first week, all your assumptions have been thrown out of the window. Now, what happens now is the fact that we make those assumptions, yes, but we also understand that those assumptions a lot of times are a projection of the ideal situation. And we all understand that when you get into the world of business, that a lot of times things are not ideal. So now, does that mean that we do not need a plan? No, everybody must have a plan. But what it means is that most of the time, Most of us enter the business and we allow those differences. We allow the reality that happens after we get into the business to throw us off balance. All right. Now, what we should be doing instead is to begin to ask questions that the purpose of your plan is to guide you. All right. Is to guide you such that even when realities come and those realities are different from the things you wrote in your plan, what the plan will do for you is that it will keep you on track. Now, why did I first go through this route? I wanted you to understand, that some of the things that are being talked about in all the classes that we have had so far, all right, in this bootcamp, are the things that you should begin to prepare for. And as reality of business happens, a lot of times, for instance, you don't plan for government policy. A lot of times we don't plan for change in prices. A lot of times we don't plan for a lot of things that happen in business. But one of the things that a class like this will do for you is that it will prepare you for all of those eventualities, and you have a fair idea of what you should do when those things will happen, because they will. It's not a matter of if they will happen or not. It's a function of when they will happen. And when those things happen, you don't want to be caught unawares. So if you have a business plan right now, a plan for your business, and it's looking like the reality on ground is not meeting up or catching up with that reality, I'm hoping that some of the things I'm going to say here in this class is going to help you to find your way back to your plan and put you on track again and put your business in good financial, in a good financial position. Now, like I said, I'm going to be sharing 5 things that I believe that are very important that every business owner should be paying attention to, especially when it comes to your finances. And I'm going to start from number 1. Keep your eyes on the numbers. Every time I get to talk about business numbers, I have a picture of a dashboard. I don't know if you have ever imagined what it means. If you have ever imagined what it could mean for you to drive a car for a long distance. Say, for instance, those of us who live in Lagos, you want to go from Lagos to Abuja or from Lagos to Port Harcourt, and you are driving a car without a dashboard. All right, I know that, sometimes our commercial, bus drivers might do that a lot. All right, but the truth is this: we understand that. It's not like it is completely impossible, but you also know that doing that, you are putting yourself in a lot of danger. Your dashboard is what shows you the health of your vehicle as at that moment. So you're looking at your fuel gauge, you're looking at your speedometer, you're looking at the temperature of the car, you're looking at all kinds of things. You're looking at the condition of your brakes. You're looking at everything that talks about the health of your business at that point in time. All right. Once a particular light is on your dashboard, you want to understand what that light means, and you want to take the necessary actions to ensure that you are not caught unawares. This is what there should be something that provides a dashboard for your business. There should be something that gives you a view of the numbers of your business per time. All right. Now, a lot of us do business. You're doing business 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years sometimes, and you have never prepared a financial report of your business. All right. Now, that is like driving a car without a dashboard. And when I talk about a financial report of your business, I am not talking about the accounts you prepare whenever you want to file an annual report. Most of us know that a lot of business owners don't even look at that financial report. You just keep it somewhere, and then when tax bodies come, when tax agencies come, you bring it out and say, yes, I filed my financial report, I've done this. Or some of us prepare those things for the sake of being able to, apply for grants, apply for loans, and all of that. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying something that shows you an honest, sincere, correct view of where your business is at the moment, telling you about your sales, telling you about your customer acquisition cost, telling you about your cost of sales, the cost of your sales. What does it cost to be able to deliver a unit of the product or service that you render? What have you spent so far on specific items in your expenditure? What's your capital expenditure? Your financial statement should be able to answer a lot of questions. What is the position of your assets and your liabilities in the business? What's the position of your debt to capital? What's your debt to capital ratio? Your financial report should be able to answer a lot of questions about the current position of a business. Now, a lot of times, a lot of us don't pay attention to this. And what happens is, like, a lot of us, the same thing that we do to our health. We continue to live our lives. There is no medical check. We're not doing anything to check the state of things. And then you just realize we see situations in which someone is just going along the way and then they fall down and then, they are gone, they are dead. And a lot of times, of course, we're in a climate where things like that, we say it's a spiritual attack. We say they hit them with an arrow or whatever it is. But we know a lot of times before that happens, a lot of things were already happening in the body, but that person was not paying attention. The day somebody falls and dies was not really the day that they died. They've been dying gradually, but they were not paying attention to important things that their body was telling them. They were not looking at the dashboard because there was no dashboard in the first place sometimes. Now, the same thing applies to our business. The day your business runs into debt, or the day your business collapses, is not the day it actually collapsed. It has been collapsing gradually, but you had nothing that was showing the numbers to you. A lot of us, as far as money is coming in and money is going out, you are fine. But that is not how a business should run. A business should run in a way that you are able to know what is the state of things. And when it comes to keeping your eyes on the number, there are a few things I usually advise. Number one, I advise that you automate. There are a number of software that you can use to be able, and this is not about how much money you have. Of course, depending on the level of, the amount of finance that is available to you, there are accounting software that are available at different levels. Now, usually I advise automation, and the reason I advise automation is very simple. All right, automation, first of all, it means that your records are kept somewhere. You're not, we are past the age and time where people will be keeping numbers with paper and pen and writing. I remember I needed to prepare a financial report for a business at a point, and I asked for their report, and they said, well, the place where they wrote their records, there was a time rain entered into their office, and then it spoils all the books they were using for the recording. And in my mind, I'm like, we would have saved ourselves this stress, because what that meant is that we had to practically, produce numbers that are non-existent. Why? Because this business didn't have any records to show for the business they have done in the past, say about 5 years, or say about 10 years. All right, if you have been doing business for the past few years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and there is nothing somewhere that shows that this is the record, this is the track record that you have. All right. A lot of times it's because we've not automated. All right. Automation means that you employ technology. You do not need to have an in-house accountant to be able to have financial reports in our age and time. And there are a number of softwares, accounting softwares, that you can use for this depending on the amount you have. There are some that are very free. Sometimes, for instance, and I will give you one example of a free accounting software. Of course, when we deal directly with businesses, we look at your business, and most of the time we are able to advise you properly on which one is more applicable. For instance, there is manager.io. All right. Manager.io is a very great tool. There are a number of other software. There is Wave Accounting. All right. Depending on how much you have, there are a number of accounting software. There is Sage. There's QuickBook. There is Zoho. There are a number of accounting software that you can use. And most of these softwares are designed in ways that sometimes you can even use your phone to keep the records. You don't have to have a laptop or a desktop computer to be able to do these things. All it requires is a commitment to getting your records. And the good thing about using most of this software, and this is why I recommend automation, is that once you are able to input your daily sales, your daily expenses, and you're able to get the input correctly, you don't need an accountant to now come and help you prepare reports. You can easily generate reports directly from these softwares. All right, and that's why usually I recommend software, because as a business owner, I should be able to ask you right now, what was your sales figure for the first half of 2023? And there must be somewhere that you can go and just click generate reports, or just click get report, or whatever it is that your software says, and that report will be downloaded immediately. Not something that you will need an accountant to now come and start putting, pressing calculator to calculate, okay, I sold this day, I sold that day. No, I'm saying something that you can easily generate, and that is why I should always recommend that you automate. One of the things that automation will also do for you is that it will help you to stay committed. All right. Most of this software have a way of reminding you that, have you posted your report today? Have you posted your sales today? Have you done this? It helps you to keep discipline. It helps you to be able to, keep to reporting, because a lot of times, what a lot of us don't know is that when we are not keeping records of our business, we are depriving ourselves of a lot of opportunities. A lot of opportunities will not wait for you. The day an opportunity will come for you to be able to access a grant, access a loan, or get a major business deal, a lot of times they are not going to tell you in advance that you're supposed to provide a financial report. So you get an opportunity to meet somebody, and the person needs your financial report, or the person needs specific numbers from your business. All right. At that meeting, and this is an impromptu meeting that you didn't plan to go there with your financial report or get someone to help you prepare, what do you do? All right. So getting your numbers right is a major challenge that a lot of business owners have. All right. It's not just about making the money. It's about knowing what you are making and seeing how you are able to maximize those numbers. When you have access to your numbers, you can make accurate decisions. You can be able to know, okay, this is what we're supposed to be doing now. If we have done so amount of sales from January to June, we should be able to walk up to our bank and say, see the numbers I've done in the past 2 years. See the numbers I've done in the past 3 years. See the numbers I've done in the past 5 years. See the numbers I've done in the past 6 months of 2023. Now, I need so facility. This is my records. With these records, I believe I should be able to get so amounts to finance this particular project. All right, there's a lot of decisions. There's a lot of advantage you can get when you keep your records. All right, and lastly here, I say reconcile your bank account regularly. This is what a lot of us don't do. All right. Now, one good thing is that a lot of times for most banks, they send you a financial report. They send you a bank statement at the end of every month. If I take a poll here right now, I'm sure that a lot of us have never checked those bank statements. A lot of us just know that, yes, you receive the mail from your bank every month that says this is your statement for the month. A lot of us never open it. All right. And because of that, there's a lot of things we are allowing to sleep. There's a lot of things that we are missing out on that is happening on the bank statements. All right. Now, a lot of times I've had situations where I remember one of our clients, while we were doing their reconciliation, we looked through the accounts and we discovered that, of course, looking at the record of bank charges and all that, we saw that, hey, these were particularly overcharging you for a particular, on COT. And we had to write to the bank, and, find out, okay, give us a schedule of how you generate these numbers that you're deducting from this person's bank statement. And of course, they were doing very high volumes. And because of that, the amount that was being deducted it looked insignificant to them. But by the time we calculated it at the end of a year, and they saw how much that they've been debited, and they saw how significant it was, it was easy for them to see that if we had been monitoring this regularly, we would have pointed this out at earlier than this, and this would have helped us to probably be able to even make a deal with the bank and say, at this point, do not charge us beyond this amount for this particular charge, for this particular transaction. All right. So how regularly do you reconcile your bank account? All right, I'm going to go to the next one. Cash is thing. Yeah, it's a great thing to make profits. Profit a lot of times. Now, a major thing that a lot of businesses focus on is profits. Profitability is great, it's beautiful, but much more important is cash. All right, how much cash do you have? Now, a lot of us keep profit on paper. We keep profit on paper. All right, and this happens a lot to businesses, particularly that run either you run a business that you get to deliver your product or service before people pay. All right, a lot of times, a lot of us don't keep track on paid transactions. That's number one. And number two, a lot of us don't keep track on how our expenses directly link up with our income. All right. Now, a lot of times, a lot of money is coming in, but you also do not notice that a lot of money is going out. If you do a business where you have a high turnover of money coming in and money going out, if you are not careful, you'll be making a lot of profit on paper, but in actual times, you are not making any profits. In actual terms, you are not making any profits. I remember the last month we had to file annual returns for one of my clients, and for the first time, she discovered. Now, this is a business that I've been on for about 2 years. For the first time, she discovered that for the past 2 years, she has actually been running at a loss. Of course, I mean, this is a real estate person, so a lot of money is coming in. A lot of money is coming. People are, buying investments, people are buying properties, people are paying for a lot of things. A lot of money is coming in, but she's not noticing that a lot of money is going out also, that she's not taking into account, that she's not paying attention to. What is the cash level of your business? I'm not talking about the profitability of your business now. I'm talking about now, because a lot of times, like I said, profitability, a lot of times when we as business owners, when we recognize profits, a lot of us are recognizing profits the wrong way. A lot of expenses are not being. I remember a particular client that we sat down together, and she discovered that she reached out to me and she said, it's like I have a spiritual problem. I said, what's that spiritual problem? I'm making a lot of money, but I'm not able to meet up with my short-term obligations. All right. And she said she doesn't understand the way our business works. That she's making a lot of money. I mean, she looks at our accounts and she saw that a lot of money has come into the account, but she's not able to meet up with our basic requirements. Sometimes she can pay salaries, sometimes she has to source money from her husband to pay salaries. Sometimes she has to borrow money from loan apps to pay salaries or to do basic things. Sometimes she even gets jobs, that she's not able to even fund the job properly, despite the fact that the customer actually paid for the job. All right. And when we look at things, we basically discovered, that what she's counting as profits, is a lot more than what should be our profit. There's a lot of spending that she's not recognizing. There's a lot of things that is happening that she's not seeing. All right. So I tell people, yeah, it's good to count your profit, but what is the cash position of your business? How do you manage cash properly to ensure that, because cash is the life wire of business. All right. That is what ensures that your business stays alive. Cash is like blood when it comes to the body. The way blood is important to the body. The day blood stops flowing in the body, that is the day that person dies. That is the instant that person dies. It's the same way. In the day cash stops flowing in your business, the only problem a lot of times is that, especially if you run a business where there's a high turnover of money flowing in, money going out, you may not pay attention to it until, and that is why you see a lot of businesses turn into Ponzi schemes. A lot of times, businesses that turn into Ponzi schemes didn't start off as Ponzi schemes. All right, you have a lot of investment programs that, you know, they were working at the beginning, but after some time, they just stop working and then they crash, and then people lose their money. And everybody says, this person has scammed people. A lot of them didn't set out from the beginning planning to scam people or be a Ponzi scheme, but they were not paying attention to the things they should be paying attention to. And a lot of money was passing through the system and going out through the back door, but they never noticed it. What should you be doing to manage your cash properly as a business owner? I said that cash is slippery. It's very important for you to, cash is very slippery. And the reason is very simple. Cash is the most liquid asset, you know, an accountant will tell you that, all right? Especially if you do a lot of business that requires that people are paying you physical cash. That means they are not paying transfers. You need to be a lot more particular about managing your cash. All right. So how do you do that? Set limits on cash transactions. I usually advise business owners as much as possible, avoid or reduce cash transactions to the barest minimum. And what I mean is that if you have to find a way to ensure that, thank God for what happened early this year, you know, particularly in Nigeria. If you're in Nigeria, you probably remember how that, you know, the cash crisis that we had, even though it was a crisis, yes. But one of the things that that period did for a lot of businesses is that it helped us to be able to insist on people paying through electronic means. All right. Either transferring to your bank is what I mean now. All right. It forced a lot of business owners to go and get a POS. It forced a lot of business owners to go and open a bank account. All right. And look for ways to just ensure that money comes in virtually without physical cash coming in. Limit cash transactions to the barest minimum. All right. Another thing I said is incentivize bank payments. All right. Encourage people to pay by bank. All right, that might require, for instance, that you give discounts to people that pay to bank, to bank, or you probably give something extra to people that pay to the bank instead of paying cash. All right, paying you physical cash, especially if you do a business where it requires that people are coming in to pay you cash a lot. All right, if there's a way you can, because like I said, and I'm going to come to that. It is the fact that when cash is not properly managed in a business, that business will die suddenly one day. And the reason is very simple. You will not notice it until it is too late, until too much blood has been lost. All right. It's like someone is losing blood gradually. When cash is being lost in the business, they will probably not notice until they are so short of blood that they cannot recover again, even if a blood transfusion is done on them. All right. So incentivize bank payments. All right. Also here, I said it, create a system that ensures that no cash is spent without a paper trail. And one of the things I'm going to do, all right, I would want the moderators to probably remind me, is that we have a petty cash voucher system that we create for one of our clients. It's like a template. And I won't mind sharing it for free, to people in this class. All right. So I'll love the moderators to probably remind me after the session. All right. Have a system that records cash transactions. And what I mean is cash transactions that happen in your business every day. All right. Now, I'm not saying the ones that you do transfers for. When you do transfers, it is easy to check it on your bank statements, and trace that transaction. But transactions that you do, we're buying fuel at the filling station, you give somebody cash, go and buy fuel at the filling station. You're buying recharge card, you give somebody cash to go and buy a recharge card. You are entertaining a guest, you give somebody cash to buy refreshments. All right. You are doing things, you are buying office supplies, consumables, toiletries within the office, and you give somebody cash to pay for it. Have a system that is able to capture that cash as it is moving out and of course, cash that is also moving in. I've never allowed cash to move in or out of your business without a paper. And when I say paper trail, I do not mean like physical paper. I mean the documentation happening as a result of. This is one of the areas that, is one of the most difficult things to work on in my experience with small businesses. We spend a lot of cash mindlessly. And what we do not know is that we are losing money faster than we are gaining it because we are being careless with our cash management. All right, here I said, pay attention to cash that is tied down in inventory. I'm not going to talk a lot more about this. A lot of us do businesses that requires that we buy inventory and we keep them. All right, or you are buying, you're probably you're a fashion designer, for instance, and you get, or a tailor, and you get to buy materials and probably display them so that people will come and they say, okay, this particular material helped me make this particular, style and all of that. And then you have a lot of those items tied down. How do you determine, when you should buy more? How do you determine when you should sell the ones you have before buying a new set? How do you ensure that you don't have so much money tied down, in those inventory that, at what point does it start affecting the running of your business? All right. So pay attention to cash tied down in inventory. Of course, lastly, I ask, what is the monthly minimum liquidity requirement? Usually when I work with clients, I recommend that at least worst case scenario, at the very worst case scenario, at least you should have a 20% liquidity requirement. And what do I mean by liquidity requirement? At most, you should not spend more than 80% of what comes in within the business. All right, that means that you should have at least 20% of what came into the business and let it be available to meet up with your short-term obligations. A lot of us do businesses, and as money is flowing in, it is just flowing out. Nothing to keep us on check. Nothing to say, okay, let's prepare for, the next 1 month. At least, now, a lot of us didn't know what, the importance of having a liquidity requirement until COVID-19 happened in 2020. Most of us can remember, for some of us, for 2 months, for 3 months, for 6 months, we could not do any business. Money could not come in at all. And your landlord didn't want to listen to that. You still have to pay your rent. Your staff, you still have to pay some of your staff. All right. Because if you do a business where your people could still continue working, or they still had to continue to work despite the fact that lockdown was going on, you still have to pay them. Even if you're not paying full salary, you still have to pay something. All right. A lot of us went into a period where money was not flowing in, but money was still flowing out. All right. Now, if you did not have a cash retention plan, and you should have a plan that ensures that even if business stops for another 3 months, for another 6 months, what would happen to your business? Even if money didn't flow in for that period, would your business crash? Or do you have a plan that ensures that you're able to meet up with your short-term obligations, despite the fact that money is not coming, at least for some time, before you are able to make a proper decision on what to do about the business? All right. So number 3, and I'll get a little bit faster now, create a monthly budgeting system and stick to it. How many of us and I'm going to, I want your responses in the comment section if you have a monthly budgeting system in place in your business, like every month, or for some businesses it could even be weekly. All right, but I said monthly because at least to be on the to be on the safe side and to be a lot more very considerate. If you have a monthly budgeting system where you plan your expenses, the expense of the business in advance. I don't say you plan. And when I say budget, I'm going to talk in details about it. I gave it an example of a budget, on the screen. You would see that you're not just planning your spendings, you are also planning your income. That is proper budgeting. So budgeting doesn't mean you just plan, this month we're going to buy this, we're going to pay for this. No, it means that you also plan the income that will come into the business. All right. If you do have a budgeting system like that, I want you to, just type in the comment section, say, yes, I have it. Yes, I have it. If you have something like that. And now, from our experiences with businesses, most of the time, we could say, there was a time we actually did a little research, and we discovered that at least 90% of businesses don't have a budgeting system. At least 90% of businesses don't have a budgeting system. Do you have a budgeting system? All right. And that's a major area small businesses are failing also. Create a monthly budgeting system and stick to it. You see, one of the things that is going to separate, two businesses can start at the same time. But in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, even if both of you have the same resources, all right, you have the same resources, you are exposed to the same, level of exposure, everything is the same. What is going to differentiate those two businesses in the next, few months and few years, one of the main things that is going to differentiate them is how much planning that is put into what you do. All right. And a major tool for planning is your monthly budget. A major tool for planning is your monthly budget. How do we plan what is going to come in this next month? And it is very possible. It is very possible. And I'm going to share with us a simple budgeting guideline that will help you. All right. I'm going to quickly do this. All right. And after this class, I would want that you sit down, if possible, right now, if you are in this session right now, if you can, I want you to take a screenshot of this process, and probably share it on the group for those that or share it on your social media after the class. All right, a simple budgeting process for your business. All right, because like I said, I like when I teach things, I like helping people to see how they can implement it. So it won't just be about knowing what you should do, but it will also be about knowing how you can get it done. If you have never done a budget before for your business, you can start with this and gradually, of course, make it better as you move on when you work with a professional. All right. Okay, so number one, list out your regular sources of income and realistically project the expected income from each source. If you want to have a budget for this month, for instance, as your business, you are a tailor. All right. You can looking at your past records. And this is why it is important to also have past records. All right. Because if you have past records, your budgeting process becomes easier. You can look at, okay, we are in July. In January, how many cloths did I make? If possible, you can break it down into different kinds, of designs, different kinds of cloths, different categories. If you make unisex, for instance, you want to know how many men's clothes did I make? How many women's clothes did I make? All right. You can break it down into as many categories as you can, depending on the amount of data that you have available. All right. But in January, how many did you make? How many clothes did you make? All right. What was the cost of each one? All right, this particular type of design, okay, senator design, for instance, this is the number of it that we made. This is the amount we collected per. I can see Danjuma Musa, but I must see you're raising up your hand. I'm going to give an opportunity to answer your questions when in the next few minutes. In about 20 minutes, I'm going to give an opportunity for you to ask your questions. All right. But if you have a question, you can also type it. If it's a question, you can type it and put it in the comment section. But if not, I'm going to give opportunities to answer your questions at the end of the session. All right. So if you make cakes, all right, there are different sizes of cakes. In January, how many cakes did you make? You can break it down into different, the different sizes. This size is 10,000 naira, we made 5 units of it. This size is 8,000 naira, we made 2 units of it. You can basically break it down like that. All right. And then how many did we make in January? How many did we make in February? How many did we make in March? How many did you make in May? How many did you make in June? All right. Now, with all those, with past data, you can predict future behavior of your customers. All right. Another way you can do it. All right. If you are an events planner, for instance, all right, how many events did you work on? All right, in January. How many did you work on in March? All right. How many on the average? You can have an average. All right. You can also make this plan based on those that are booked in advance. All right. If you're an event planner, for instance, I know the events that have been booked for me in July. All right. I know the events that have been booked for me in August. I can plan based on that. All right. Because budgeting process is not complete if you do not plan your income. Most of us plan our expenses because that is easy to plan. But what we don't do is to plan our income. All right. So what is the income that you can realistically say in the next 1 month, in the month of July? Okay, July has started already. All right. But it's not too late. You can still budget for July. All right. But let's say as you go into August, what is the income that we can say we are realistically expecting? Like I said, you can easily do this if you can sit down and look at the past behavior of your customers. All right. So the next thing is list out your regular expenses and project the expected amount to spend on each expenditure head. You know the things you spend on as a business. All right. You know the things you regularly spend on. Now, I'm not yet talking about things that just come up that are not planned. All right. I'm still talking about things that you can predict, things that you already know by your past experiences that this one happens at so time, we have to pay for it. All right. Our waste disposal, we pay for it so week or so day. Electricity is the amount that we use if you are on a prepared plan. This is the amount that we use every month. Whatever it is, this amount we spend on this amount we spend on this, write it down. All right. Then next of all, make provision for irregular or miscellaneous expenses. The next thing is to now, of course, you cannot, like I said, you cannot perfectly predict the future. So that means that even when you know that they are the ones that you already know that you can plan for, they are the ones that you know that, well, this one, we can't plan for it, but we know it is possible this one happens, it's possible that one happens. All right, make a budget for that also and say, okay, this particular amount will go into attending to, those things. And then make provision for savings. When you budget, please include savings. When you budget, please include savings. Include amounts that will be kept. All right. Because a lot of times, what you don't plan for, you don't implement. Most businesses, because we do not plan to include these things in our, on our plan, we only do it as occasion demands. So after you have done all the spending, all that, there's still money, yes, so yeah, let's keep it. But if there's no money again, well, next month we'll try again. No, it doesn't work that way. All right. So make provision for savings. That means that should be part of your budgeting process. All right. That means it is being planned in advance. Now, set control measures in place to enforce compliance and get explanations for variances. And what do I mean by that? An essential part of budgeting process is control. That means that we are budgeted that we're going to spend 20,000 this month on buying electricity. All right. By the 15th of the month, we have already spent 15,000 naira. That means we only have 5,000 naira to spend by the end of the month. We must get an explanation. Why have we spent so much as at this time? All right. Of course, when it's reduced, it's also get an explanation. All right. We budgeted to spend 20,000 naira this month on the electricity, but by the 20th of the month, we have only spent 5,000 naira. Wow. We should have an explanation. The same thing should happen to your income. Also, you should judge, you should look at your income, and this is why things should be planned in advance. The reason is this, so that when you plan in advance and say this is the amount of income we expect to come in, if by the end of the month or as you go on in the month, you are checking. If we expect that we're going to make 100 million in turnover or in sales this particular month, all right, and by the 15th of the month, we have not yet made 50 million. We should be able to get an explanation why, so that we don't wait till the end of the month and now look back and say, we didn't make 100 million, and then we are caught by surprise. We should not be caught by surprise. There should be a mechanism that helps us appraise how far are we going with implementing this budget, how far are we going with ensuring that it is implemented and we achieve the things that we planned to achieve on the budget. Of course, lastly, review every month to make your projections better. Now, as you start the budgeting process, at the beginning, it might not be perfect, but as you implement it every month, what it will do is that you will get better with your projections. You get better with your plan, and then it will become but the important thing is that you are building an habit. You are building an habit. And I'm going to come to that next, why this habit must produce. Pay yourself at the level the business can currently afford. Now, I'm going to say this, and I want you to write this down somewhere. You see, when we run businesses as business owners, especially at the beginning phases, and most of us will agree with me on this, at the beginning phase, it's just you that is running the business. You are the accountant, you are the storekeeper, you are the social media person, you are the all in all of the business. You are the alpha and omega of that business. Now, what happens is that, as the alpha and omega of your own business, also, you are also the ones that spends all the money. All right. All the money goes into your pocket. You spend it as you will. You need to do this. You dip your money into the pocket of the business. You pay for it. You need to do that. You pay for it. Now, what you do not know that you are doing, and I want us to take note of this, is that you are building a trust system. I mean, trust, T-R-U-S-T, into the structure of the business. And what is that trust system? That trust system is a major problem of most small businesses. All right. You are building a system where you believe that you trust your business and your business trusts you, so you don't need to be accountable. Now, the problem is this. What you do not know also is that when you begin to bring in people into your business, you are employing an accountant, you are employing a storekeeper, you are employing a cashier, you are employing this. What you don't know that you start doing, and most of us are not aware of it, but we do it unconsciously, is that we start transferring that trust to those people. And the reason you will know that you have done that already, or you are already doing that, is that you do not have a reporting system in the business. You do not have an accountability system in the business. All right. So, and what will happen is that you started it since when it was just you. All right. And then those people will start doing things the way they feel they should do it. All right. And start helping themselves into, and you will not know that things are going wrong until most of the time it is too late. To avoid going through that cycle, I advise the business from the beginning. Dear business owner, pay yourself. All right, pay yourself. And it is very, now most of the time people ask me, how do I determine how much I should pay myself? All right, now, it's an exercise I usually like to do, but because of time, we might not be able to do it in this class. All right, sit down and try and estimate how much is all your basic expenses in a month, as a person, because let's be factual with ourselves. The reason we are running business as business owners, and I'm sure you agree with me, is so that you can be able to take care of, or at least live a basic good life. All right. So what's the use of doing business and then the business is making money and you also cannot spend from it? It's not realistic. So you are making money and then you need to be able to spend from it. Now, but what you need to do is sit down, first of all, calculate how much do you need to be able to, on a monthly basis, how much do you need to be able to live a convenient life? I'm not saying take that money from the business. I'm saying, first of all, estimate how much you need. So let's say, for instance, you can sit down and discover that for you to be able to live your life conveniently every month, you need at least, say, 500,000. That's the first thing. Secondly, now ask yourself, at the level the business is making money now, how much can the business afford to make? Sorry, how much can the business afford to pay me? All right. Now, I do not expect, especially at the beginning phases, I do not expect, for instance, that your business can afford the whole of that 500,000. Now, what most of us do, and we don't take note of, is that because we are not intentionally paying ourselves, somehow we'll find a way to still take that 500,000 from the business. But the business is dying as a result. Because money that the business is supposed to do, because most of us don't even separate the business from ourselves. All right, the money that the business is supposed to use to do major things, the money the company is supposed to invest in assets, the money the company is supposed to save, the money the company is supposed to spend on several important things, we are taking it. But because you don't take it once, you don't take notes. All right. So at the time when you're supposed to pay school fees, all right, you just look into the business account, take the money for school fees. At the time where you're supposed to repair your car, you just look into the business account, take money to repair the car. At the time where you're supposed to, major things you're supposed to do in your life, you because you don't take those things, you take those things gradually, you do not take notes that, and if that is how you have been living your life, this Sunday, or if you're a Muslim, today is Friday, when you get to the church or when you get to the mosque, and they are leading you to pray on the cankerworms and palmer worms that are eating into the business, into the finances of your business. Please, when they are leading that prayer, please don't pray, because you are the one collaborating with those cankerworms and palmer worms to destroy the business. Because every time you take from the business without planning, you are killing the business gradually. All right, a lot of us are doing that to our businesses. Pay yourself, dear business owners. Pay yourself. All right, determine that this is how much the business can afford to pay me. Even if all my expenses is 500,000, my business can only afford to pay 100,000 or 200,000. All right, now what that will do for you, all right, at the beginning it might be hard, because that means that you might have to deprive yourself of some things. But what that would do is that it will push you and force you to determine, how do we raise the income of the business so that I can also raise my own salary? And secondly, what that will also do to you is that when you start employing people, that also helps you to be able to judge how much the business can afford to pay in salaries. All right, so pay yourself, dear business owner. Lastly, I'm going to talk about always speak with experts. You see, I know we live in a world where we do a lot of, do it yourself, and which is good. All right. A lot of times at the beginning phase of your business, you can't afford to, to pay for a lot of things. You can't afford to pay for, a lawyer. You can't afford to pay for an accountant. You can't afford to pay for a lot of things. All right. And because of that, we get to do a lot of things ourselves. But what that is also doing for us, we do not notice a lot of times, is eventually we get to spend a lot of money we should not spend. We get to waste a lot of time we should not pay for. All right, because we are trying to get done. You see, when you call someone an expert or a professional in a particular area, that person has spent time learning, to do things, that will help you to save time and effort. A lot of times, the things that we are spending time to do, if we will pay somebody to do it, it will give us, because as an entrepreneur, you have to understand, it is time you are selling. It is your time. All of us, if you haven't read, there's a book by Michael Gerber. It is called The E-Myth Mastery. All right, and there he basically talked about how business owners, how you can move your business from being a side hustle, from being how you can move yourself from being a self-employed person to being a real entrepreneur. Someone that is working. Now, a self-employed person is still under employment. It's just that in this case, you are the employed person, you are also the employer. All right. That is different from you are not if you are a self-employed person, you are not an entrepreneur yet. And the way you will know if you are a self-employed person is if your business cannot run completely without you. I'm not saying that will happen at the beginning, but we must be progressively working towards that. All right. Now, as we go on, we should begin to ask ourselves question, how do we be able to speak with experts on different areas of our business? Because like I said, a lot of us are spending time and effort and money on what we should not be spending on. And a lot of time it's because we think that, it's expensive to have these things. I tell people, you can start from having these people as your friends. All right. Having these people as your friends. There are people around you that you can speak with, especially on different areas of your business, on your taxes, on your accounts, on the legal aspect of your business. There are people around you. If you are, I tell people, start from keeping a good relationship with professionals that are around you. All right. Another way of having expert advice is programs like this that SMEDAN has provided the opportunity for us to have. All right. In this program, I'm sure that you've had different, professionals, different experts speaking with you on different aspects of your business. I'm sure that they have also provided a way by which you can pick these people's brain. Of course, this session right now is an opportunity to pick my brain, for instance. All right. At the end of this session, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions, get opportunities, to establish relationships, to connect with professionals, with experts in different areas of your business, and then speak with them. All right. Before you make major decisions, before you take major actions. I've had situations where I've taking up some businesses, but by the time I'm coming in, the business owner, I remember, and I'm going to close on this note. I remember taking up a client. The client is in real estate, and we were having a session. I had to have a session with, their top management staff, and they were giving a report of the previous year, their profitability and all of that. And in that report, I noticed that they were recognizing their investment products as sales. All right. And if you're a real estate person here, you should probably take note of this. All right. So as a real estate person, you sell land, you sell properties. But most real estate companies also have investment products where people bring in money. And then as the company, you collect their money, you use their money to finance your projects, and then you refund their money to them after a period of time with interest. That's an investment product. Now, I noticed that those investments, monies that came in for investments, they were regarding it as part of their income, as part of their sales. And I had to call them and say, hey, there's something wrong here. Hope you know that investments, they are not income, they are not sales, they are actually debt. And debt means that you should provide for the financing cost of those debts. How do the way you recognize sales is different from the way you recognize debt financing, investments. All right, people bring in investments, the way you recognize it is different. All right, but a lot of them, I saw that they modeled up together, and we had to sit down. Okay, what percentage of your income is debt financing? What percentage of the income is actually the sales? All right. Now, the part that is debt financing, the part that is sales, all your spendings, all your planning should be on that part. You should not be planning company spendings on investments that people have made. All right. Whatever your plan on investments or debt financing should be how to be able to pay back the debts. And then by the time how to, first of all, invest the debt and make profit from that debt. Now, and then pay back the debt. After that is done, it is the profit on that debt. That means after you have paid back the debt and the interest element of it, and then you made profit from paying it back, it is the profit on that you can now regard as part of your income, and then you can now start spending. But because that is not done, I told him, I said, if you continue to do this, you will get to that point, and that is why you see a lot of those investment programs crash, because a lot of money is coming, a lot of money is going out. They did not notice that they were losing money faster than they were gaining it. And at the end of it, they get to a point where they cannot meet up with those obligations, and then they crash. All right. So now that is something that somebody should have spoken with an expert or spoken with a professional, and the person would have helped them put a structure to ensure that they don't regard money that is not income as income. There are a lot of mistakes a lot of us are making in our business that if you had spoken with an expert or a professional, you would have been saved from a lot of headache. Find opportunities, like I said. You have people around you that at least you can start from picking their brains. You can start from speaking with them. All right. And then programs like this provide opportunities for you to have access to professionals, to experts that can be able to, at least at the level where you are, provide advice for you, provide guidance for you, speak with them before you make major decisions, so that you wouldn't have gone too far and discovered that you have made an error. Sometimes, I've taken up some businesses that I've had to advise the business owners, go and register another business, because at this point, this business has crashed. It might look like it's still running, but it has crashed. If you are going to be able to meet up with your obligations, you will discover that this business cannot keep running. And sometimes I've advised business owners to change their business model. I've advised them to change their income model. A lot of times we speak with business owners and we discover that sometimes this advice come in too late, because at the time they should have gotten the advice, they were not speaking with someone that would have helped them. Always speak with an expert. I'm going to bring this to a close right here. All right. And I'm going to entertain our questions. I want to believe that this has been a little bit helpful for some of us as we in running our business. I'm going to entertain our questions right now. I don't know if any questions has been dropped in the comment section. Thank you very much to everyone that has listened so far. I'm going to hand over
Thank
to
you so
the team
much
to handle the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Olasoji. This was an amazing session. We've been getting the buzz even in the community of how insightful the session has been. And so we'll be taking in questions now. So please, if you'd like to ask a question, please just signify. You will be unmuted. Let's have Basi A-Team. Please go ahead with your question. Basi A-Team. If Basi A-Team is not ready, can we have Mabong A-Team?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Basi Timbasi. I'm doing enterprise based in Calabar. I really want to commend the presenter for this particular session. This is one part of a business that we all are corporate, if I may say so. I personally have learned so much from this session. I want you please to lay more highlight on the financial budget again, because there are many times in the business there are things that comes on plan and they are necessary. How do you handle that? You didn't budget for them, but they come and they are very important. You have to implement it. So how do you handle that? Thank you so much.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is that let's have another about 2 questions, so that I'll take all the questions together so that we're able to manage time.
Okay.
I think I prefer that, so that we can be able to move fast with answering the questions.
Okay, can we have Clara? Can we have Clara? And then we still have some questions coming in from YouTube as well.
Yes, that's true. I'm looking through those.
Clara, can we have you? Okay, if Clara is not ready, can we have God's will?
Good morning or afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, good afternoon. My question is, there's this issue that I always have in running my business, which he said the last part he said, when he said if we're going to church praying about the cankerworms and this thing eating the business. So I have that issue. Recently I registered my business, which I've been trying for a long time. And I've always wanted to open a business account because I use my personal account. And using my personal account, I use it with my personal expenses and both the business expenses and all my daily transactions and everything. So there are some stages whereby some people ask me for my business statement or my bank statement, and I can't provide them my personal account statement because it's not my business statement. So there are a lot of opportunities I've missed because of that. You understand? So, and now I just recently registered my business. So I've not opened an account yet. Now, to the question, my question is, what do I do at this stage? Where I'm still, spending, I'm still doing my day-to-day transactions and expenses and doing all the everything with my own personal account.
Okay.
What do you think?
Okay. Okay. Let's have one more question if you can. Or if there's none, I'll quickly rush to attend to these two questions. All right, let's start with attending to these ones then. I'll look through the comment section and try and answer one or two questions from there too.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to start from the question, the first question, talking about budgeting. How do we attend to unplanned expenses in budgeting? If you remember when I talked about the budgeting process, I'm going to quickly go back to it. Now, budgeting, like I said, you cannot be 100% accurate with your budget. There's no way. All right. Now, like I said, if you remember, if you look at step 3 there, I said make provision for irregular miscellaneous expenses. And what do I mean by that? All right. There will be expenses that you do not have plans for. All right. So for instance, when I'm making a budget, for instance, depending on the volume of the budget and the kind of business, there are a lot of things that go into determining how you should provide for miscellaneous expenses. But I usually recommend a particular percentage. All right. So for instance, I say, we have budgeted your income and we see that your income should be, say, around 10 million naira this month. Okay. Then we also budget your expenses. The expenses that we know should maybe be around, say, maybe 5 million. So we have 5 million left. All right. We have decided a particular percentage is the savings. So we remove the savings. So we decide, okay, since planned expenses are around 5 million, let's make a provision for, say, 10% or 20% of our planned expenses for unplanned expenses. I usually recommend that when you're providing for unplanned expenses, make it a percentage of something, a percentage of say, a percentage of the planned expenses. All right, so you can say our planned expenses is 5 million out of our income of 10 million. Let's make our unplanned expenses, say, 10% of that 5 million, which is, say, another 500,000, or 20%, say, another 1 million. What that will do for you. Now, I'm not saying that if you now plan that 1 million, that you now enter into that month, unplanned expenses that will come might eventually become like 2 million. But let me tell you what that plan will do for you, is that it will keep you in check. There are some unplanned expenses that we only spend them because the money is available. When there's a budget that restricts you and says, even if heaven is going to fall, this is the only amount that we have planned that, okay, whatever is the case, we have said that 1 million is the only amount that can go into unplanned expenses. So even if heaven is falling, we cannot spend more than this 1 million. Whatever excess is coming, we'll have to carry it forward into next month. What I will do for you is that to check you as the business owner and to check your staff. They know that we have made provision that for expenses we didn't even plan for, we don't know it's going to come and all that. It is this 1 million that can go for it. So as we are spending that 1 million, today we spend 50,000. Today we spend 100,000. Tomorrow we spend another 70,000. We know that once it gets to this 1 million, there's no money to spend again. Even if everywhere we collapse, let it collapse. The rest will go into next month. There is a level of discipline that is required in budgeting. And that's why a lot of us run away from it, because we don't want that thing that will handicap us. We don't want that thing that will hold us to ransom. But the truth is this: if you are going to budget properly, then there has to be that provision that says we plan in advance. Yes, we know that there will be expenses that is not planned for, but we have to still determine a particular, either you use a particular amount or you use a particular percentage and say, this particular amount is what we made available this month to spend, depending on the income of your business. All right. This particular amount is what we will use to attend to unplanned expenses. And then whatever unplanned expenses come must fall into that amount. If not, it will be carried into the expenses for the next month. By the time your employees, for instance, know that anything that is beyond this amount, we can't take it to a gap. He won't approve it because this is our budget. That itself, of course, there will be some flexibility to it, to where we say, okay, at this one, I mean, I'm not saying that it is now cast in stone that it will not happen, but it will put some level of control into how we entertain, unplanned expenses. Because, for instance, now there are some visitors that will come to you unplanned. That this person, yes, there is money, so we can afford to go and buy, food from a fast food and spend, say, 5K, 10K to entertain them. But if this person always comes unplanned, there has to be a point where we tell the person, see, today is Coke we are giving you. Do you understand what I'm saying now? So there are some unplanned expenses that we know that if we really want to curb it, we can curb it, then let's curb it. All right. So that is the way unplanned expenses work. When we put a particular cap to it, it helps us to be able to now, over time, like I said, the budgeting, when you start practicing it at the beginning, it might be hard, but over time, you start adjusting, it start getting better, and then you'll be able to have a better idea. Okay, in the past 6 months, this is what we have been spending on miscellaneous, where it's time for us to push it up, because we have noticed that that amount is not always enough. We can push it up. Or we can reduce it because we have discovered that that amount is too much actually. So that way, over time, you adjust it in a matter of months or years, you will have a perfect or better, budgeting process. The last question about personal accounts. Now, it's very simple. Now, this is what I usually recommend for business owners. At the beginning phase of a business, a lot of us, yes, maybe because you register your business or your business is not even registered yet. So you are using your personal account. Or you register your business, you are still having issues with opening a bank account, and because of that, you didn't have a bank account. It's very simple. Most of us have at least more than one bank account. The first thing you can do, for instance, is choose one of your bank accounts. Choose one of your bank accounts. Someone is not silent. All right. So even if you have, I'm sure you will have more than one bank account. 2, 3 bank accounts. Take one of those bank accounts and convert it, start using it for the business. That means keep all personal transactions from that account. If you need to do any personal transactions and the money is in that account, move it to the other accounts that you use for your personal transactions. But such that in that situation, if somebody needs your bank account and it's just personal account that you have, but you have been able to purify that account to ensure that you don't allow personal transactions to happen on that account, you can still tender that bank account. All right. So take one of your bank accounts, and I'm sure most of us at least have like 2 bank accounts. All right. Take one of them and dedicate it fully to the business. If you need any personal money from it, move it to your personal account. All right. If there's any money that you want to also inject into the business, move into that account. Let that account be strictly for the business. Of course, as soon as possible, open an account for the business and let the business breathe. Let your business breathe. Let it have its own account so that it will be separate from your personal expenses, your personal, transactions. So I believe I've been able to answer those 2 questions. Let's check through the comment section if I can have some 1 or 2. I'm trying to look into the comments are coming in quite fast, so catching up. Okay, somebody's saying they have raised their hand, but it's like it has not been noted. Please, can someone attend to?
Okay, I think that's Clara.
Okay. I'm seeing if you are Brenda.
Okay, Clara, please unmute. Oh, just hold on, Clara. Just hold on. Let's take a question from the chat box and then we'll come back to you.
Okay. So maybe you would have to help me, because I'm trying to catch up, but the messages are coming in quite fast. Okay, I've seen a question by Tala to Idris. Let me quickly read that. My question is, my business is a business that sells more during a particular season. I hire people then making production. You talked about budgeting and salary. In the aspect of salary, since my business is small and sells more during a particular time, how do I plan, pay the salary? And about the monthly budgeting also, how do I do that? Advice. All right. This applies to a lot of businesses also. All right. Now, for some of us that probably, for instance, you run a school business, most parents, at least you will have a bulk of money coming in at the beginning of every term. So that means that you have some months where a lot of money is coming in. You have some months where, a lot of money is not coming in. All right. And so if you understand your business, you will understand the high seasons. For some of us, our businesses does a lot more during festive seasons. All right. And then there are periods when for a long time you are not doing anything. Understand the trend of your business. All right. So I know, for instance, that, let's say a lot of money comes in January, and then February, March, a lot of money is not good. I'm not expecting so much money. So what do I do? The income in January, I know that all the budget for February, March has to be factored into what is coming in January. Do you understand what I'm saying? Such that I'm able to study the trend of my business, know the periods when the important thing, like I said, is to be able to plan the income that is coming in and then plan your expenses based on that. So I know the period when I'm expecting high sales. So I take the sales that I'm expecting in that period and then spread my expenses, spread whatever it is that I need to do over the period, including, that means that in the period when my sales is high, I won't now spend a lot more, only for me to now be looking for money during the period when sales is low. I have to be able to plan in advance that this period is a high sales period. Or anything that is going to come up during the low sales period, I have to factor it into those high sales period. So if it's whatever kind of business it is, when you understand your business, you are able to plan ahead based on what is coming in. So your budget is still monthly, but you know that there is period when the income will be very high, and I spread the income across the periods when income is quite low. I believe that answers your question, Tala to Idris. Sydney Cyril says, how do I keep account of all monies that I put in my business, knowing that some monies are not mine, but I quickly put it there to turn over the money to pay back later. Now, as business owners, of course, there are times when we have to inject money into the business. Now, that is why your account, your personal funds have to be separate from the funds of the business. So a lot of times when I see a business owner, when I look through the accounts and I see that they are injecting a lot of money into the company account, the first thing I want to ask is, why are we doing this? Is it because the business is not making money enough to run by itself? If that is the case, now that can be a short-term plan. That cannot be a long-term plan. We have to find a way to quickly move the business to a point where it can run by itself without needing you putting in your money. All right. Now, the second thing is, now in that period when you have to be injecting your money, the next question I will ask is, these monies, are they loans that you want to collect back? Or is it money that you are giving to the business, adding to the capital of the business? If it is a loan that you want to collect back, there has to be a repayment plan. Don't just take it when you like. No, there has to be a repayment plan that says, okay, this is the period where when the money will be paid back. All right, even when you need it, you don't need it, that's not the problem of the business. Return the money to your personal account and let the business keep running. All right, let there be a repayment plan. Of course, if it is money that you are not taking back, don't go and start if you take it back from the business later and say, maybe I gave the money so amount at so time, so I need money now. I just dip into the part. No, let there be, the important thing is, let there be a repayment plan and let it be clear that this business is separate from me. So if any money is going from your personal funds to the business, there has to be a plan. If it's money that will be refunded, there has to be a plan. So, and that will be included into your budgeting. So I put 10 million into the business and so they, based on the income flow of the business, this is the period where the business can pay back. All right. So let the business start paying it back as planned. Even if you need the money, you don't need it, but don't just take it back as I need money, I just dip money into the accounts of the business and take it back. No, that is against planning. So that is I believe that answers your question. If it doesn't, please indicate. Trying to I probably do for one more question. Must your business account be a current or it can be savings? So usually business accounts are current accounts. I don't think most banks don't run savings accounts for businesses. What most banks now do is to have maybe like enterprise accounts or some other accounts that are not necessarily current accounts, for businesses. But I don't think that businesses banks run savings account for businesses. Do I need to open a current account specifically for business or just use one of my personal domain accounts as my business account? Ideally, you should have a separate an account for the business. Especially if the business is registered, you should have a bank account for it. Because there are a lot of things that you will not be able to present your bank account. In fact, as a matter of fact, there are some organizations that can't do business with you if you are presenting a personal account. All right. So that is why it is important that your business should have its own account separate from your personal account. At the beginning, when you are still trying to figure out opening your business account, like I said, take the other advice that I gave, separate one of your personal dormant accounts and use it. But that should be a short-term plan. And that short-term should be very short, not a short-term plan. When it is running to 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, that's no more a short-term plan. It's already long-term. So in the short term, use one of your personal accounts, but in the long term, please open an account for the business. Let the business breathe, please. It's very important. I think I'm going to, I said I have a question. I've raised my hand, but it's like, okay, I think we'll attend to that. I'm trying to look through the comments. Do I need to open a current account? Okay, I think I've answered that. I think I'm going to hand over to the moderator.
Okay, I think we may have to take Claire's question and then we can now round up today's session. Okay. Hello, Claire.
Hello, Ma.
Okay, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, ma. Thank you, ma. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for the insightful class.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you made a statement. You said investment is not income or sales. I think you said something like that when you were giving an example of the real estate. Yes, please. I needed you to elaborate more on that. But in this case, you use a grocery outfit to just explain a bit more on that. That's the first one. The second one too, I needed you to just chip in like a little bit on tax clearance, because that is always needed thing when you're going to open a current account for a business. So can you just explain a little bit so that we understand what a small grocery outfit, how they can go about their tax clearance after getting it? How do we handle that?
Okay, all right. So concerning this second question, we have a session, I believe we have a session coming up on taxes. So I'm going to answer all tax questions in that session.
Okay.
So I'm sure the moderators they are going to update the class on when that is going to be holding and how that. So, so for your first question, I explained now, not all businesses have an investment model. Now, so investments usually, what businesses do investments to raise funding. All right. And that's why a lot of times, usually it's real estate people, because real estate is a very capital intensive business. So they need a lot of money to be able to run the business. They want to buy properties. They want to build those properties. They want to do a lot of things. So what they do sometimes is that if they say they should be waiting for people that are buying land, maybe it's when there's land that somebody will pay and buy the land. So that means as a company, we must have the land first before we now start selling to people. So sometimes they might not have the personal funds to be able to fund buying that land. So what they do is that they do investments where they tell people, okay, invest so amounts. We have this property, invest so amounts. All right, it could be 100,000, it could be millions and all that. They say invest so amounts, and then we will pay you back at so interest after 6 months, after 3 months, after 1 year. I'm sure you probably heard about that a lot of times with real estate companies. They do those kind of products. Now, I am saying here that investment product, that is a product that the company is selling. It's not the land they are selling now. They are saying invest, will refund you the amounts you invested with interest. That's a product, because people will now send money to give them money based on that. Now I'm saying that kind of a money is a loan.
Okay.
It's not an income. It's not your income that is coming in from people, because what you are saying is that you are getting external financing. Of course, usually that kind of financing is cheaper than maybe going to a bank. All right. So a lot of times people find it easier and cheaper to get that kind of financing, and say, okay, by the time you pull all of that together, maybe you probably now have like 1 billion, and then you can use it to buy properties, you can use it to start building. And then when you start selling, the idea is that when you start selling those properties, you start refunding the money to the people you took the money from. I'm saying that when those monies come in, don't treat those monies as an income, treat it as a loan. All right. Now, depending on your kind of business, you were talking about a groceries business, right?
Yes. A
grocery. Now, if you run a groceries business, I do not know if you can have of course, you can have an investment model for any kind of business, depending on how big you want to do the business. All right. So if, for instance, you have a plan like that too, where you say people should give money to you, not that you are selling a product to them. You are telling them, give us also money, I will refund it to you as also interest rates. After you can crowdfund. People do that also, where they crowdfund and say people bring money so that they can use it. Some people used it for farming business, for instance. They use it to, you can use crowdfunding. You can use that kind of a funding model for any kind of business, depending on how you're able to run it properly. I'm saying when those monies come in, you cannot treat that money as part of your income. All right. What is your income from that money? Is after you have done with business with that money, you have refunded the capital and the interest you promised them. Whatever is now left is now what you will now recognize as income. Because what that will do for you is that you cannot spend that money until you have done business with it and gotten back the capital sum, gotten back the interest, and then there's now an excess.
Okay.
Do you understand? So
Yes, sir.
I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Yes, you have, sir. And
Someone asked a question in the comment section. Please, sir, which software can we use? Like I said, there are different software, but I specifically mentioned manager.io. So go online, type manager.io. All right, manager, like normal spelling of manager.io. Search on Google. There are a lot of other softwares. I mentioned manager.io because they have a free plan and I think it's relatively okay. There are a lot of other softwares, but you might need to pay depending on your budget for them. There's Zoho, there's Sage, there's QuickBook, there is FreshBook, there is a number of them. There's Wave, but I think Wave is not available in Nigeria. It's not available in Nigeria again. There are a lot of accounting softwares, but I mentioned that because I know that they have a good free plan that you can use and it works for relatively, different kind of business. But sometimes software also is now specific to your business. Some software might not apply. If you run a supermarket, for instance, or a retail business that you sell in a lot in retail, then you might need a retail software, not necessarily an accounting software. All right. So depending on what you do, you might need different software. So that's it.
Thank you so
any
much.
Other questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Olasoji. I know there are a lot of questions. So of course, we made provisions for that. So I'm going to be sharing a group link just so Mr. Olasoji can answer all of your questions. So I'll be sharing that in the community. So if you have questions, please join the group, share your questions with him. He will be right there to take in all of your questions. And of course, I know everyone has actually heard him say he handles some services for SMEs. So if you have any challenges with that, especially regarding today's topic, you can as well share that on that group as well. He will be there to take all of your questions and also answer all of your needs. So please, I'll be sharing that immediately after our session on the community group. So if you have your questions, start typing it now so that you can post it to him on that group. Thank you so much, Mr. Olasoji. I've been seeing all questions popping up. We really cannot take all questions. So please just check the group after the session and you will find that the WhatsApp group link. So quickly join the group and send in your questions. Mr. Olasoji will be there to take all of your questions. Thank you once again. Thank you so much
for having me.
Thank you for the amazing session. Thank you. And also for those on the YouTube channel as well, please, it also applies to you. Just join the group in the community and send your questions in. And please, if you're yet to fill in the attendance form, I'm sharing that again. Kindly do that immediately. And I know Mr. Olasoji actually asked that I remind him. Mr. Olasoji, are you still here?
Yes, I am still here.
Okay, you asked that I remind you about the petty cash voucher system.
Yes, I'll get that.
Yes.
So we'll probably share that on the group too also.
Okay, no problem then. I'll do that. So thank you all so much. And yes, our usual ritual, someone just reminded me, we're meant to take a screenshot with our facilitator. So we would have everybody's videos on so we can do that before he leaves. Please, let's have your video on. I can't see everyone. Still finding. Please, I can't see everyone. If you're yet to put on your videos, please kindly do that. If you're yet to turn on your videos, kindly do that. I'm taking a screenshot. If you're yet to turn on your videos, kindly do that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. For those that have turned on their videos, thank you. And please ensure you take your own screenshots as well. And of course, please post your screenshots on your social media pages, telling us about your learnings from today's session. And I'll also be sharing the social media pages of Mr. Alasoji on the community group. So please ensure you tag him and tag SMEDAN Lagos, letting us know what you learned from today's session, and also sending in a note of appreciation to him as well. Thank you all so much for coming on board. Once again, if you're yet to take your screenshots, you could do that now. If you're yet to take your screenshots, you could do that now. And again, if you're yet to fill in the attendance form, I'll be sharing the attendance form again. Please, before you log out, ensure you fill in the attendance form. Before you log out, please ensure you fill in the attendance form. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I'll be going off shortly, but before then, I'm going to leave in the attendance form for a while. Please do hold on. Okay. Please, if you're yet to fill in the attendance form, kindly do that now. Okay, we will be going off now.